Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about the trouble with Apu.
Yes.
The trouble with Apu.
Again, because, you know, it was already covered at length a couple years ago, but now we have to cover it again.
The Apu drama never ends. We're going to talk about Hank Azaria, the former voice actor of Apu. He kind of stepped down a year or two ago after a controversial documentary came out. Talking about the trouble with Apu. And, he hasn't really said much about it since then, but now he's apologizing for ever having voiced the character for 30 years.
Right back when people didn't care.
Back when people didn't care, and the vast majority of people really don't care. I'm going to be honest. It is a select few that are offended. Even a lot of Indian folks are not offended by Apu. I'm sure there are some that are.
I'm sure there are.
But, for the most part, this character was on TV for 30 years. And, they actually portrayed him, aside from the stereotypical accent, they did portray him in a fairly positive light. He was a pretty positive character.
I'm not going to comment because I haven't watched Simpsons in so many years I don't even remember.
Nobody has.
I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Nobody watches
that I
The
did
Simpsons.
because I haven't.
We're going to talk about this because I think this ties into Disney and their mandate and all this other stuff going on here regarding voice actors. Thank you so much to Nell for kicking this over this afternoon. The Cartoon Brew put up an article. We're going to talk about it before we get into it. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We're over 185,000 subs. Thank you for the support. We do talk about the animation industry, talk about cartoons, talk about pop culture.
We talk about a lot of stuff.
Talk about whatever interests us that day, and stupidity. Stupidity
is every day.
And look, the situation...
like a diamond is forever. Stupidity is forever.
It is. So Hank Azaria, little bit of backstory here for those of you who don't know. There was a documentary called The Problem with Apu, and it came out about 3 or 4 years ago and made some waves in some circles talking about how problematic Apu was. Well, Hank Azaria basically stepped away from the character and, he said he had to think about it. He wasn't real comfortable with it, whatever. And that sort of set off, I guess, the trend of white actors stepping down from non-white roles. Now, it accelerated with Black Lives Matter. A lot of people stepped down. Now, if you step down voluntarily, right, that's one thing, but we think that Disney was probably pushing a lot of white actors out of roles.
They just did a big thing today about used to have like 4 keys, now it's 5 keys with one being inclusion. They made a big deal about it on Disney Parks blog.
Yeah.
They're going to get rid of the way they represented Native people and African people on the Jungle Cruise. They want to change that to,
Chimps.
be more inclusive. Yes, include chimpanzees. They're changing the chimpanzees. And to a bunch of diverse, people on a pole. So it most likely is probably, and I think they were doing something. They were switching to a different studio or something. This was being sent.
Yeah, they're. I guess they're going to have like 20th century animation or something, something like that. They're family, basically all these quote unquote adult shows
that Disney's going to make not adult. Because
they're going to nerf
Disney
them.
And we can't have oh my God, we can't have this associated with Disney.
Yes.
Could we remind you about Touchstone?
Yeah, right.
Showgirls, that was
Showgirls, that was
Disney.
That was Showgirls was Disney. So anyway, Hank Azaria, now it's not enough to just step down, walk away, find another voice actor, but just maybe retire Apu and not speak about him like Lisa Simpson. She had a picture of him she put in the drawer. That was how they addressed it on the show. Like, yeah, some things we just never talk about again. Put the picture of Apu in the drawer and shut it, and that was it. Now he's apologizing profusely for his role in structural racism. Because it's not enough just to step down and say, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe it wasn't a good idea. No.
He also voiced a Russian fruit bat. I don't see him apologizing for that.
Well,
it was a Russian fruit bat.
This isn't the first Indian character that he's played.
That was a great character, though.
But he actually was not. He was not Indian. He was actually an American guy pretending to be. So maybe that was the joke. I don't know.
Well, there's an awful lot of people that aren't redheads that get to pretend to be, and I'm not allowed to be offended.
Yeah, so here we go. This is coming from Cartoon Brew. I will put a link in the comments. Go read the original article. Hank Azaria has apologized for voicing Apu in The Simpsons in his fullest discussion yet of the role.
Does he apologize about the Blue Raja?
I don't think he even mentions. Nobody mentions Mystery Men anymore.
Mystery Men was good.
The Birdcage. People bring up the Birdcage. He played a gay guy in the Birdcage.
I remember Birdcage. Yes.
It has drawn widespread accusations of racism in recent years.
Birdcage?
Yes, he was.
Oh, I remember the Birdcage, but I don't remember him being in it.
Speaking on this week's episode of the Armchair Expert podcast, the actor who is white said, "I apologize for my part as the Indian American convenience store owner. Part of me feels I need to go around to every single Indian person in this country and personally apologize." Hank.
Well, it's not enough anyway.
Hank.
Plus, you played a character. Come
it
on.
Was a character
was around for decades.
This is the thing. Look. And I get, if you're personally convicted, if you feel I shouldn't be doing this anymore because I feel bad about it, okay?
But by all means, don't do it.
Then don't do it. Absolutely. I'm not, and that was my understanding was he's like, yeah, I watched a documentary and I felt bad about it. And it was over and done with and Apu had been quietly retired. But now, a couple of years later, he's coming out and being like, I need to go around and personally apologize to every Indian person in the country. Now, here's the thing. He is offensive to some people. I'm not going to say he's not, but some people love him. Some Indian people love him. There was an article on the Washington Post a couple of years ago talking about Apu, and Amar Shah said that he reminded him of his dad, who was an immigrant. Mm-hmm. And he said the accent, the convenience store, everything. He said, look, it wasn't the most ideal character, but, at least there was some representation that I could relate to.
I just get so tired of the fact that, you only can voice who you are. I mean, that's kind of against acting. And plus, then you see these people that are constantly, that are not, certain, that aren't white, let's put it that way, voicing all kinds of characters, and they're allowed to.
That is the way the rules are this year. Yeah. Now next year might be different. Now the thing is, we've talked about this before when it comes to voice actors. It's been this way for a while. I mean,
it made it more fair to a lot of people.
Yeah, go back in the 1980s. I bet you didn't know that Rainbow Bright and Penny from Inspector Gadget were both voiced by black girls.
Mm-mm. Yeah, but people didn't know that. But
nobody didn't.
They go about how Knuckles was coded black, and they were mad because it was voiced by a white guy. Meanwhile, Sonic was voiced by a black guy for years, and nobody cared.
Nobody cared. Bumblebee, one of the Bumblebee voice actors, was a black dude too.
Yeah, did we care? No.
Nobody cared.
Did a good job. That's what matters.
So since the 2017 documentary The Problem with Apu, which argues that Apu embodies and perpetuates negative stereotypes about Indian Americans, there has been a heated public debate. Not really that heated. A very small percentage of people were upset about the character's impact on society.
Impact on society. You know what gets me is when Hollywood goes on about stereotyping. When they are like the number one most stereotyping bunch of a-holes you ever find. Like, I know, we have a girl with ice powers in She-Ra. Clearly she's an Eskimo. Well, the ninja guy who's always been blonde hair, blue-eyed, and white, well, that's problematic because he's a ninja, so obviously he should be Asian. Oh my God. Because he's a ninja.
So he confirmed in January of 2020 he wasn't going to voice Apu.
Which is his choice.
Again, if somebody feels personally convicted, I don't think I should be doing this anymore. It doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah, then that's up to them. That's, good on them.
Right.
And their choice.
And I think in some cases, even with the white voice actors initially stepping down from black roles, that was the case. I think it was their choice. They're like, I don't feel right about this. But I think, again, tinfoil mouse ears.
I felt right about it for decades, but now I don't feel right about it.
I did until, I just don't need any more money.
To me, again, which is worse? That they stepped down now, or that they didn't care until people told them they had to care and step down now, and they did it for decades and they had no problem with it then?
Yeah, there's that. So I think, the tinfoil mouse ears are going off. I think this is Disney's mandate.
It's probably.
Because we're seeing this in the parks.
Especially with the announcement they made today.
Yeah. I think because they own The Simpsons now and they own Family Guy, that they're going to be like, we're pushing out Cleveland, we're pushing out Apu, we're going to make a big show about how diverse we are. Now, the funny thing is with Cleveland, now I heard that the kid's actually pretty good, but they got to sound alike. Mm-hmm. So they push the guy who originated the role, who's a white dude, which I had no idea. I really didn't know Mike Henry was, I didn't know what he looked like. So they pushed him out of the role. He didn't seem very happy about it. Right. But then they put a guy in there who basically does an impersonation of Cleveland, but he happens to be black. So it's like, it's kind of weird. So anyway, he said that there was he had a real blind spot about racism. So Azaria described this process in more detail on this podcast. Host Dax Shepard and Monica Padman, who is Indian American, were on the show too. He spoke about initially feeling defensive, then deciding to keep my mouth shut until I have some idea about what the hell I'm talking about. He took seminars, spoke to Indians and people knowledgeable about racism, and eventually changed his mind about Apu. I think he was sent to seminars by Disney. I could be wrong.
He might have just been on his own.
I don't know how many people are legitimately that proactive. I mean, some people maybe, but...
He might be. Hollywood, the way Hollywood is, he could be.
If you have a lot of time and a lot of money, and I guess your career's on the line, you might consider doing it. But I know that Disney has been sending people to get re-educated in many cases, so who knows? All right, so he also said to me, participating in racism, as in structural racism in this country, is about blind spots. I didn't know any better. I was unaware of how much relative advantage I had in this country.
Oh my God.
As a white kid from Queens. I actually didn't think he was white, I'll tell you the truth.
You know what? Here's the thing.
I'm
so tired of hearing that if you're white, you're privileged. Because I know a lot of people who are white and had one hell of a life and they weren't privileged. And I have people that aren't white that had a much easier life and would look like privilege in comparison. So some people, I think you could just take away that some people are more privileged in life than others. That is true. But is it always based on race? No, it's not.
So I don't know how privileged a white kid from Queens is. Queens is not really affluent.
I don't know. I just, it's always about privilege. I mean, being a Hollywood celebrity, do you have privilege? Yes. I mean,
yes.
If you look at it that way, yes, you're privileged,
So Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, he actually did come out and he said USA Today is like, basically, I'm not going to apologize for Apu. He said, I think the Apu stories are fantastic. He's one of the most nuanced characters on a silly two-dimensional cartoon show. That is actually true. Mm-hmm. Apu started out as a caricature, but they actually fleshed him and his family out quite a bit over the years. He's not. People
were really upset when they took him off.
Yeah, people were upset. So yeah, I'm proud of Apu. Pause. I'm trying not to open up another chasm of criticism, but it doesn't matter what I say. I'll get it anyway.
You are right. Doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter how many times you apologize. Hank Azaria is still going to get harassed. Guaranteed.
Oh, yeah. So Groening said the show is playing something kind of ambitious for the character who's been sidelined since Azaria walked away from the role. They'll probably recast him. They recasted Dr. Hibbert, so it wouldn't surprise me. But just the comments even here, like seriously, his actors fed lines. He did a good job. Colt Moronicus.
You know what makes me mad about this? Oh yeah, it's about Birdcage. Is the fact that, these people that are having the biggest meltdown about it are probably not even Indian. They're probably just a bunch of white women on social media.
Probably. I mean, look, I'm not saying people weren't offended by Apu. I'm sure people were offended by Apu. But
I'm sure they were.
The thing is, with The Simpsons, nothing was sacred. Religion wasn't even sacred.
Right. They offended everyone. They didn't care. They make the main characters like, they're yellow, but obviously supposed to be white people. And they make them dumbasses.
Yeah.
I'm like, they offend everyone.
Yeah, The Simpsons is at least when it was at its best, it roasted everyone equally. Now, it could be argued they only had 10 or 12 good years. I don't
know why it's still going on, honestly.
Money, I guess. Disney at this point. I mean, look, we did a video before talking about how Disney was definitely going to tone down The Simpsons. We had, Lisa explain to Marge what SJWs were and all of that. And it's like, oh my God. So it's dead. Put a fork in it. Simpsons has been dead. But to have Hank Azaria come out years after the fact and basically say, if I could go around and apologize to every single person individually, I'd do it. I'm like, what about this guy who was like, that was my dad. I didn't really care.
My next thing is this. If they're so offended by it and it's so bad, are they taking all the episodes of the Pooh off of Disney Plus? Do they have content warnings?
So that's basically every episode.
I was going to say, are they taking every episode off? I don't know. Do they have content warnings? I don't even know.
Some episodes I think do.
But they're going to take every episode with a Pooh in it off? I bet they don't because they want to cash in on that.
Yeah,
so it's okay for that. Disney will deflect on everybody else, but they'll still take the damn money.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And this is, look, I still think this goes back to Disney's diversity and inclusion initiative.
Well, they have that new announcement today about their 5 keys, and diversity is one of them. But, I'm 100% in agreement with diversity and inclusion when it's done right and when it's not it's not exclusionary in itself. I think that sometimes you can push so much for, diversity and inclusion that it ends up being that you're being more unfair in the long run. But, I think that it's always good to have diversity. I think that's been around for years. This is not a new thing that these companies want to take credit for. It's just, I'm just tired of everything has to lead with it.
Yeah, so I think we'll see more of this, especially from Disney voice actors. For sure.
Well, they already said that. Like, you were coded a certain way, and they had a voice actor that wasn't coded. It wasn't exactly the same way it was coded. They were going to redo it to make sure it matched. And I'm like, you're talking about talking animals.
Yeah, but animals are people too, just like those chimps in the Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, because they literally were talking to the people at the Animal Kingdom to make sure that they were treating them with respect, so they wouldn't be laughed at. So, I'm like, isn't that the point of the chimpanzees in the first place?
Yeah, right. I don't know, guys.
You can't have fun on the Jungle Cruise because then you're an insensitive douche.
You can't have fun anyway. I don't know how The Simpsons is even going to continue. Family Guy, you're not allowed to make jokes. You're not allowed to make jokes.
Oh, no, that's not true. You're allowed to make jokes as long as you're only making about certain types of people.
Well, that's true.
Then you can make whatever joke you want.
All right, so we're going to wrap this up?
Yep.
All right, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We will talk to you later.
Bye.